we were talking about the residential property disclosures. All right, now, we also talked about back in chapter 2, don't we own our minerals under our ground and our oil and gas? We own that too, right? And aren't we able to sell that? We're able to sell that. So in order to transfer my property from me to you, wouldn't you as the buyer want to know if I'm buying your oil rights? You need to know. You also need to know that because there's a lot of new homes. Make sure if you're purchasing a new home or your client's purchasing a new home, that you read the fine print. In some cases, the developer keeps the oil rights or the mineral rights. So just make sure that you're checking that, all right? Now, we have what's called a mineral oil and gas form, much like a residential property disclosure form. So let me show it what it looks like, okay? And this is our mineral oil and gas rights form. And again, it's going to ask if we still have the mineral oil and gas rights. Now, you notice that this question, first question, mineral rights were severed from the property by a previous owner. You may not know that, or you may not want to disclose that, okay? So yes, no, or no representation, you can say that. However, notice what number 2 and 3 and number 5 and 6 don't have. They do not have the ability to say no representation. So if the seller has severed the mineral rights from the property, he has to say yes or no, okay? They have to tell you if they've done that already. Or if they intend to sever the mineral rights from the property, right? Yes or no. You can't say no representation. You have to tell the buyer what they're buying, right? Am I buying those mineral oil? Because it has a value, right? Obviously, anything underneath your property has a value. So that is mineral rights. And then 5 and 6 has to do with oil and gas rights. Okay, so severed oil, if you have severed the oil and gas rights from the property, yes or no. So again, do you plan on it? Yes or no? So I want to know what I'm buying. In that particular case, the buyer, and this is the mineral oil and gas, we call this MOG, M-O-G, right? M-O-G, mineral oil and gas. Mineral oil and gas rights, mandatory disclosure. I have to tell them whether I've sold them or I intend to sell them. I cannot say no representation. All I can say no representation to is if a previous owner sold it. Maybe I don't know, right? Maybe I don't know. All right, so that is the mineral oil and gas, and both of these must be signed and delivered to the purchaser, and the owner has to sign it with the address. Okay, so both of these disclosures are important to your to the person selling the property, to the lister. All right, they have to do both forms. So just to go through that PowerPoint, all right, an amendment to the Residential Property Disclosure Act, all right, we just have to do another form. Mandatory language in all sales contracts subject to the act, plus new construction. Now, the red is important here. Despite caveat emptor, the sellers are required to disclose status of oil and gas rights transferring to buyers. I need to know what I'm buying, right? I need to know what I'm buying. And required for most transfers of residential property, but not for vacant land. You don't need a mineral oil and gas for vacant land. And I'll be honest with you, I still don't know why you don't. Okay, I've been looking for that answer, and sooner or later I'm going to find it. And if I do find it, I'll relay it to you. But you don't need it for vacant land. All right, but you do need it for transfers of residential property. Working with buyers. We've been talking about working with sellers for a long time now. It seems like way too long. But working with buyers, all right? On that side of the coin, we have to make sure that we're getting as much information as what they can give us, okay? So do we want to be if they don't want to hire us in a written contract, do we want to be a seller subagent? Will they allow us to be, all right? Switching to the buyer's agent, all right, or back and forth, requires full consent. You're going to have to get the buyer's permission. You're going to have to get the seller's permission. You're going to have to get the seller's agent's permission. It's not, you probably will not be able to do this. So we need written buyer's agency agreements. We need written listing agreements, right, as soon as we can. We can have a oral buyer's agency agreement. and that's non-exclusive. So they're working with everybody else. That's not necessarily a good thing for us. Right? We have that oral buyer's agency. But what we do is we want to have them sign that buyer's agency form. Once they do that, we can make it an exclusive and we can set a date on it. But if we have an oral buyer's agency, they can go work with anybody they want in addition to us, and it can go on for as long as we let it, right? So in that particular case, we want to make sure they get something into writing. We also need to disclose about dual agency. So in that buyer's agency agreement, we're going to put a few things in there. We need to know what type of property they're looking for. Ranch, split level, whatever. How many bedrooms do they need? How big a house? How many bathrooms? All of those things, all important, right? We need to figure those out. Any particular areas that they're looking for, particular counties, what are you looking for? And we can do that by asking questions, right? And then we want to show them a pretty wide range of different ones. We're going to talk about what they owe us, honesty, fairness, ability to work together, those kind of things. And then we're going to talk about compensation. If in the event the seller doesn't pay us out of his split, we're going to have to come to them. We're going to have to come to them, right? So they're going to have to pay something. They're going to pay something. Dual, and then we'll talk to them about dual agency. Let's go through the steps again, working with these buyers. WWREA stands for working with real estate agents, right? That's the form. We're going to talk about agency. We're going to explain it to them. We're going to give them the form, get them signed, right? Then we're going to pre-qualify them. We're going to find out how much money they got to spend, right? How much you qualified for? How much will the bank lend you? Do you have the money? You're going to pay cash? Let me see your bank statements. Because if they go out and buy a property, you're not being mean. The seller is going to say, they're going to pay cash. If I'm the seller's agent, I'm going to say, send me the verification of funds. First thing, before we even talk about it, send me the verification of funds. Tell me they got the money. Show me they got the money. Don't tell me, right? So I'm going to ask for that right away. You might as well get it, right? If they're saying they're paying cash. All right. We're going to show properties, select them, schedule them, show them, right? Discover and disclose as many material facts as we can find about this particular property. Zoning changes. What's important to my client? Is there a foreclosure imminent that we are not going to, things that would affect the closing? Those kind of things, right? We need to know what's wrong with the house just by visual inspection, right? Anything we can find out. We're going to have to disclose those, right? And then remember we said we wanted this list of things earlier from the seller. HOA information, disclosures, surveys, any kind of CC&Rs, all of this stuff. Whatever we can get from them, right? Whatever we can get from them. Do they have an elevation certificate? Do they have flood insurance? If they do, it's cheaper for me to just kind of extend theirs than it is for me to go out and get new policies and new surveys, things of that nature. Right? So again, we wanted them to verify it. The seller should have all of this. The seller should have all this stuff. We're going to perform a CMA. Now, we said we were going to perform this competitive market analysis for the buyer. But this is client level service for the seller. We said we were going to do a CMA for the seller, which was true. How much could you sell it for? But this is client level service for the buyer also. Okay. We should tell them, look, this house is on the market for $300,000. Everything in this neighborhood is sold for $270,000. So the right price is somewhere in that $270,000 range, unless they got some $30,000 upgrade. Yeah, it's the same as running comps. We're going to go see what's available. What's sold in the last 6 or 8 months. Yes, it's the same thing, right? We call them a CMA, and this is client level service for a buyer also. We should be doing that, All right. Assist the buyer preparing the offer, present it, negotiate it, right? And then once we get an agreement, then we got to push them through due diligence. Then we got to push them through due diligence, all right? And we're going to have to assist them with preparations for closing, right? Closing, all of those things. So when we could talk in chapter 14 and 15, we're going to talk about due diligence, which is when they're going to have so many days to do all their inspections and everything else. And we'll get into that when we get down there. The critical piece of this is that we don't normally, or people normally don't think that we should perform a CMA for a buyer. We should every time. We should every time. All right, so how do we figure out commissions? Pretty simple, right? If we have a sales price at $189,000 and we're going to get a 6% commission, we're going to get $11,340. That's going to be the total commission. But now we're going to split it with our company. So let's say we're the listing agent. My side, I'm going to get 60% of that. My broker is going to get 40% of that. So we're going to take that 11,340 and we are going to, well, actually, this is the listing agency. This is the whole agency is going to get this 60%. So they're going to get 6,804. And the other side, the cooperating broker is going to get 4536. Now, if we break that down a little further, let's say I get 50% of that, then I would be getting 3402. All right, so we'll chop it down a little more. And then the selling, whatever the split is for the other agent. Okay, whatever that split is. And we're going to do some commission problems in a little bit, so just hang in there. Now, we already did our little bit of net to seller, okay, but let's go through it again just for your own sake. The broker has commission of 8%. The seller has $150,000 mortgage to pay off and $500 in closing costs. So he's got to clear $150,500 what they call hopes and dreams money, but that's what is going to be his expenses. If you do it and add 8% to that, it is not going to work. We showed you that, right? Doesn't work. So you have to divide that 105.5 by 92%. The 8% comes off of the total sales price. So that means that whatever is left after the 8% belongs to the seller. So therefore, that's what that number is. That's the seller's wish list. Right? So we're going to have to divide that using our T, that 150,500. And we're going to do a few questions on that. No, it is not 6% always. Right? It is constantly negotiated. So whatever we come to. So yeah. We're going to do some math. So right after we get finished with this, I want to close this chapter up and then do some math. Tuesday night, we talked about price fixing. We talked about the extender clause, where that's our protection clause that we talked about a little earlier, 90 days after after our listing expires, if somebody comes back. So we talked about net listing, where we have to sell it for so much and we can keep the rest for commission. Not illegal, but not very positive. It's frowned upon in a lot of areas. All right, a lot of fraud, a lot of deceit that goes on there. Open listing, we have more than one broker listing a property, more than one broker, and we can, depending on who sells it, they get paid. If the seller sells it themselves, nobody gets paid. All right, the protection agreement is like our for sale by owner. We go up to them and try to get paid for them. All right, that's what our North Carolina protection agreement is. They might not pay us. If not, I got to go to my buyer, try to get that signed. It's a compensation agreement, really. Huffing is our ability to flower up our descriptions of properties. Now, be very, very careful about that, because if we puff, it's pretty immeasurable. This is the best view of the beach. This is the nicest condo in the area. This is, this is just a short walk to the garden. Yeah, those are easy things, and there are others. However, if you say you have a fantastic view of the ocean from this property, and I go to that property and I have to look through 2 slivers of buildings in front of me to even get a glimpse of water, that's misrepresentation. If we have an example coming up somewhere along the line that says that we have a great view of the downtown Raleigh from the condo. And the truth is, it's from the roof of the condo, not the condo itself. That's misrepresentation, right? Because you don't have that view. So again, we need to be very, very careful of our words. I know we want to get excited. We want to do all kinds of cool things, but make sure that it's how it's perceived, right? That's really the important part of it. And then the antitrust laws, right? Remember, no price fixing, no boycotting, no allocation of markets, no allocation of customers, and no illegal tie-in agreements. Those 5 things, we talked about them right at the beginning of this chapter. True or false? Agency commission splits can be negotiated on the offer to purchase and contract. No, false. False. Agency commission splits are negotiated, and they are on the listing agreements and the buyer's agency agreements. They are not in that contract. They're not in the offer to purchase. There's nothing about the broker in the offer to purchase. Okay, the contract. They are in our commissions are set up in our listing agreements and our buyer's agency agreements. True or false? A seller is moving to Alaska and will not be back to North Carolina once they move in 3 weeks. Therefore, they would like to sign an exclusive right to sell listing agreement with Go Realty that does not terminate until the house is sold. This is allowable under these unique circumstances? True or false? Yeah, it's false, right? All listing agreements have to have a definite termination date. Now, if we come up to that date and we want to extend it, we can do an extension. We can do that, but we just can't have an automatic renewal. All right? Just can't have an automatic renewal. True or false? Bobby Broker of Go Realty has procured a ready, willing, and able buyer at full list price for a listing you have in Governor's Club. However, the seller is unable to deliver title in a reasonable time. Per the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, you have earned your commission. True. All right. You have contractually earned your commission at that point, right? You have delivered a ready, willing, and able buyer agreeable to the seller. All right. Now, if he can't deliver the title, that's him that you've earned your money. You added a through the wall heating unit to the room over your detached garage that permanently heats and cools the living space. So it can now be added to the total heated square footage of your home when you decide to sell. Right? It is a detached garage, and you have to go from heated square feet to heated square feet in order for it to count, right? Exactly. So even permanently heated space must be directly accessible from other permanently heated space, right? Heated square feet. So you can't go outside to that detached garage. A buyer's agent is required to perform a comparative market analysis for their client prior to their client making an offer. True or false? All right, very true. Remember we said it's client level services for your buyer also, right? We want to do a CMA for them too, right? We want to make sure that they understand the probable sales price. We don't want them to get taken to the coals, okay? We want to do them for both. They're not that hard to do, and when we get to chapter 17, we'll do them. In a multiple offer scenario, the listing agent has the duty to present all offers and is allowed to coach the seller on their responses. True or false? Oh, absolutely, right? This is your job. You're going to give them all of the multiple offers. You're going to talk to them. You're going to break them down for them. You're going to help them understand them. And then you're going to make, you're going to tell them what you think the best is. And then they're going to choose. Rule number one is going to be that you must present all offers in a timely manner. You have to, whether it's good or bad or ugly or everything has to be presented to your buyer or to your seller. Must, right? So we have to make sure that we do these things and we have to guide them. That's our job. True or false? Emailing a huge list of people to solicit them as buyer or seller clients is a violation of the do not call registry, even though I include a prominent opt-out option with the email. Emailing is not a violation of the DNC, do not call registry. It is permitted under the CAN Spam Act as long as it contained the prominent opt-out option. Okay, it's under CAN Spam for emails. Susan asked a question that said that can we tell a buyer and offer the price that seller has received? That's unless the person who gave me that offer said it was okay to do so. No, I can't. That would be called shopping offers. I can say I have an offer. I can call you up. Let's say you're the buyer's agent and I'm the listing agent. I can call you up and say, Susan, Kimberly just sent me an offer on this house. I know you had a client that was interested. If you want to put in an offer, today's the day. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at Kimberly's offer. But I didn't give you any information about that. If I wanted to give you that information, I would have to go to Kimberly and say, Kimberly, can I give Susan information on your offer so that she can try to beat it? Now, would she do that? Yeah, she's not going to do that. She's not going to say, yeah, Sam, go ahead, see if she can beat that offer, right? No, our client wants the house. So that's called shopping offers, and no, we can't do it, not without her permission. Now, if she gave me permission, then yes, we could. Right? She gave me permission, we could. True or false, a North Carolina seller is aware of a significant defect within their property. Regarding this defect, the seller may answer no representation on the RPODS form. Yeah, they absolutely can, right? No representation can mean either I don't know or I'm not saying. Either one, doesn't matter. Now, if you know of it as the broker, you have to disclose it. You have to put it in the remarks somewhere. You got to let somebody know. True or false? In North Carolina, an oral buyer agency agreement must include agreement on compensation and whether or not dual agency will be practiced. Yeah, true, right? Remember we talked about the 3 things we had to do, working with real estate agents, disclosure, right? Compensation and dual agency. Those things had to be disclosed whether we were doing this or not.
If you like this video, feel free to share it with a friend. For more real estate education content, please subscribe to the channel. From all of us at Seacoast Real Estate Academy, thank you for watching.